Hello, hello. Welcome to the HVAC Diaries. Today is Saturday, September 16th, and this is my weekly HVAC vlog, brought to you by the brand I trust, New Calgon. Our week started off with an industrial job. We looked at an air dryer at a glass factory. Well, it's more like a glass company. We've worked at many glass factories before, and this one was a much smaller shop. It kind of looked to me like a mom and pop and perhaps son situation set up there. I'm totally making that up. I don't know if that's the case. But yeah, it was a very small glass shop, and they had an air dryer that wasn't working. The air dryer wasn't working because we found it with about half of its charge in the compressor, only half of the refrigerant in there. We did an extensive leak test, but unfortunately we couldn't find any leaks. And then we evacuated the system down to less than 500 microns, which wouldn't have happened if there was a leak in the system. It would have just kept going and going. It would never have gone down to 500 if there was a leak. We filled her up, checked over everything again, and we left that air dryer in working condition. But what was really cool about working there was they've got this massive air table. It's a table with all these little air holes in it. And when they turn the table on, there obviously air flows through those holes and basically makes the glass levitate ever so slightly. So it's easy to move the glass sheets around and then work on them. I was watching this thing and I was like, that's so cool. And the guy's like, do you want to see something extra cool? So the whole tabletop actually moves until it's perpendicular. Then he put on a new sheet of glass. Well, actually it was a big mirror. Put a big mirror on it, lower the tabletop. And then they turn the table on and the glass moves, levitates, and then they can push it around and it's easy for them to move it. It's so cool. And I was watching them cut the glass, and they basically, it looks like they score it. They measure it all and they score it with something really sharp, I think. Then they hang the edge of the glass over that table edge and they snap it off. And it breaks so cleanly and neatly and perfectly. It's like, this is super cool. We also looked at an air conditioner inside of an electrical closet. They've actually just installed a brand new, I don't even know what it is. It's a massive piece of electrical equipment. And so their air conditioner wasn't working in that room. When we took a look at the condensing unit, it's located in an underground parking. The condenser coil was just matted with a blanket of dirt. So I cleaned that off, and I always find cleaning those underground parking lot units, they're always full of black exhaust dust. You get so dirty cleaning those things. I kind of love it. Also this week I got to change a couple of thermostats. One was unremarkable. Actually, when we got there, the screen was actually cracked. And so we're like, it seems like someone dropped this. And the lady working in the reception desk there, she's like, yeah, nobody's owning up to it. So... Anyway, so we replaced that guy. And then the second thermostat that I had to replace is in this, it's in an office that has a bookshelf packed with like law books. So it's going to be very difficult to move that bookshelf. So I just did it anyway, I'm like, I've got to get my head in the space between the bookshelf and the thermostat. And I'm like so close to it, I can't even read what's on the terminals. It was silly, but I got it done. And then the little plate, after you've installed the thing, you push this plate down onto the wall and it snaps in to these little like lock arm things. And it always takes my full body weight. I gotta push on it with my thumbs and then step back and then push, like my whole body weight pushes that thing in. So I was a little bit nervous because I didn't have any space to actually like give myself some leverage, some pushing leverage. But it luckily snapped in really easily. So you know that building with all of those water source heat pump units that we've been working in for the last little while? If you've been watching my vlogs, I've definitely mentioned them many times. So we had a brand new one there waiting for a tenant improvement situation. They've completely gutted the office. And so they had these few units sort of allocated to them. And for whatever reason, the mechanical company decided to install them, but we're not sure if they're like supposed to install them or not. Anyway, there was a few things we were like, what? Why did they do that? The reason we went to that one was because somebody actually broke the condensate drain fitting. Actually, it was the entire pan that they broke.
Just take the clouds out completely. What weirdness are we adding to this?
We're not quite sure how they did it. It looked to me like somebody knocked it with something really heavy. Maybe they were pushing a cart of stuff and maybe it just clipped the end of it. It's like a little plastic end. Chopped it off, or somebody tried to install it incorrectly and they messed up. Anyway, so we got to take the whole thing apart, and it was my first experience replacing a drain pan. I've never replaced a drain pan like that before. So we basically just had to take the lid off, take all of the panels off. The evaporator itself, the coil, came loose. We didn't have to disconnect or like cut off any pipes or anything like that. We just lifted it up very carefully, slid the new pan in, and we're good to go. But no one was owning up to that one either. We also looked at a movie catering truck with a compressor that kept tripping the breaker. And unfortunately, we found it grounded out. So we're gonna have to source out a new compressor or a new condensing unit.
I don't need one. You want any shavers on the table? Hit him with the 1, 2. And do you want me to put it in a shape? Yeah, what did we make it move? I did not. Go ahead.
Okay, so that compressor's done.
But it was kind of cool while we were there. Usually when we're on movie sets, it's very boring for us. It's glamorous to say we're on a movie set, but we never get to see any of the action. But today we actually got to see some of the film being filmed. And usually when we work on these catering trucks, we have these like under vehicle crawler thingamajiggies. You kind of lie on it, it's got wheels, you can move yourself around under the truck. But because we weren't expecting that cold front, it wasn't planned, we had to scurry in on our backs and luckily this truck was actually a little bit taller than the other one, so I could lift myself a little bit up a little bit. But usually it's like a mad abs workout when you're under those trucks. You gotta lift your head up while you're like doing the thing, while you're lying your back. It's fun times. The last story I have for you is a long one. It ate a lot of our time this week. So if you recall, in last week's vlog, we replaced those two evaporator fan motors on the walk-in freezer. That was so freaking freezing to work in. Well, so the guy called us on Friday last week, or maybe Monday, I don't recall. And he was like, you know, that new fan you put in is quite noisy. Can you come and take a look? So unfortunately, it's a bit of a drive out there. It's like an hour-and-a-half drive. So we drove out there, and yes, we heard the fan was noisy. And also we noticed that it was running a little bit slower than the other ones.
No, it's just like 2 an hour.
When we installed it, it seemed to be running okay. But after it ran for a little while, it seemed to be a bit slow. Anyway, so we took a replacement motor with us and replaced it right away under warranty. The new one runs much quieter and as fast as the other ones. Unfortunately, that same day, the guy calls us and he's like, it's making a worse noise. Like, it's a lot louder now. And so my brother's like, can you take a video of it for us? So he sends a video and we're like, that doesn't sound like a motor noise. That sounds like something like hitting the blade. So we made the drive out there again, a second time for this week. And we took a look. The new fan is totally fine. But what is not totally fine is the other evaporator. Okay, let me just roll back here for a second. In this walk-in freezer, there's 4 evaporator coils. 2 of them are attached to each other and the other 2 are attached to each other. And what I mean by that is like 2 of them are on the same defrost control and everything, and the other 2 are on a different defrost control and everything. So this coil right over here is attached to not this one, but this one. So they're both on the same defrost timer and termination. Obviously that guy serves a much smaller area than this guy, because this guy is facing this openness. So when we were working on the unit right by the door, we turned the unit off blowing onto us because it was so frigid. We turned that off. And because we turned that off while we were working, it built up excessive frost, which was what we expected. However, the defrost time on that is only 30 minutes. And after a bunch of investigation and, just checking into things and speaking to the staff, getting their stories and all that stuff, they're saying they were knocking off ice from that evaporator every week. So that's an indication that the defrost time is maybe not long enough. So what's happening is the defrost happens, it defrosts but not enough, not totally, and then it refreezes, and then it frosts up even more next time. And so it just keeps going through the cycle of freezing up and defrosting but not quite enough, and then freezing up again and then defrosting but not quite enough again. So we ran it through a defrost while we were there. We ran it through a second one to clear off any further ice, and we adjusted the defrost time to 40 minutes instead of 30 minutes. And that should take care of them over time. Now, once we've cleared all the ice from that, we should maybe be able to go back to a 30-minute defrost. We're gonna keep an eye on it.
No, it's not. We're on it. On the product. It's like on the shelf and on the side.
That would make sense.
Definitely.
I will connect fresh.
Last year, I was invited to participate in a Hydronics show in Toronto, which I went to and met a few of my influencer friends from Instagram, and we built this boiler board. It was such a fantastic experience, and we're doing it again. This time, I don't have to fly anywhere. It's happening right here in Coquitlam in Vancouver, and it's happening on Thursday the 21st. So I will vlog about that next week as well. Well, that's all the stories I have for you this week. Those are my HVAC adventures. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the HVAC Diaries HVAC vlog. Thank you to New Calgon for their generous sponsorship, and I look forward to seeing you on another episode next week.